Hey and welcome guys. So the Insta360 Go 3 camera, as you probably know, doesn't have a lot of shooting time. So it's around 40 minutes or so. Even in the action pod it's better, but not by a huge amount. Now even these recording times can be even shorter depending on what settings you have switched on, as some are more energy hungry than others. Now in this video I'm going to show you the settings that can affect the battery life and how to change them to get the longest recording time that we can. Now first of all, let's go to the actual settings here. So let's tap on the screen and let's go down to settings. You need to swipe down for that. Now the very first setting that's going to affect the battery life is the actual brightness of the screen itself. So this is the little sun icon just over here. Let's click on that guy and we can control the brightness of the screen. Now obviously the brighter the screen, the more battery power that's going to be consumed. So we just need to bring that down to a level that's comfortable enough to be able to still see the screen. Now let's go back to the settings once again. Now the next feature that consumes a little bit of power is the quick start icon just here, the little rocket here. Now obviously this setting, if you may already know, allows you to quickly hit the record button and the camera is going to come on and start recording, but of course that consumes a tiny bit of power just to have that feature. So if you don't need it, switch that guy off like that. Now the next feature that we can switch off is the voice commands here. Now again that's going to be consuming some battery power to be able to listen to our lovely dulcet tones as we speak, just listening for the words to be able to start and stop recording. Now obviously that's going to consume some battery power, so if we don't want it, then let's switch that guy off as well. Now the next feature that actually consumes quite a bit of battery power is the pre-recording here, which I've actually got switched off. But if that was actually switched on, this can record up to 10 or 30 seconds of recording continuously before we actually hit the start button. So of course, because it's actually recording continuously in the background, then that's going to consume quite a lot of battery power. So once again, if you don't need that feature, then switch that guy off. Now the other option to switch off is the time capture here. So this feature here, if we switch it on, allows you to have the camera automatically switch on and start recording at a certain time. And of course, if you don't find that feature particularly useful, you don't need it, then just switch it off. Now one actually very small gain to switch off as well is the actual beep. Now this doesn't consume very much power, but you know, it's still a little bit of power just to make the noise. So just switch that guy to mute and just to consume, just to save a little bit of extra battery power. Now let's talk about two more settings that can dramatically affect the battery life, and these are actually on the next settings screen to be accessed by swiping to the right here. Okay, so what we need to do is click on the little cog symbol just in the top right here, and then we should see an option that says general. Click on that guy, scroll down, and we have these two settings here, auto power off and screen auto sleep. Now these two options will consume or control how much battery gets consumed by before the screen is switched off. So we go to screen auto sleep here. Now we have an option between 30 seconds or 10 seconds or even 5 seconds, 10 seconds and 30 seconds. Now you'll probably find 5, 10 and 30 seconds is going to be quite annoying to have the screen switch off so soon. But again, of course, if you want to conserve the battery power, then set your screen auto sleep as low as possible to whatever you can bear before it drives you crazy. I've got mine set to never, that's because I'm a bit of a freak. But you can set it to like 3 minutes or 90 seconds or something like that, just to conserve battery power. Now the other option is auto power off. So this controls the time before the camera automatically switches off when it's idle. So as you of course can probably guess, the shorter the amount of time we set it to, the more the battery power is going to be conserved, because the camera is going to switch off as soon as the camera is idle. You can choose something like 3 minutes or 5 minutes. or if you don't really want that feature, then if you choose never, of course it's going to consume more battery power, and you can then have to switch off the camera by hand. Now, one other option just here, which you could switch off, is the indicator light itself. If I just flick that guy off, notice the little light is now gone off. Now, this doesn't really consume that much battery power just for the indicator lights, because it's just a little LED, but it's still battery power nonetheless. So, if you don't really want that light, then you can just switch it off. Now, scrolling down a bit further, just coming out of the general and then scrolling down a bit further, we have the Wi-Fi settings here. Now, if this guy is switched on, obviously that's going to consume a lot of power to be able to enable the Wi-Fi feature. So if you don't need that guy, switch that one off as well. Lastly on the screen is the video bitrate. So let's just scroll down here. Now I've got mine set to high, but if you don't particularly need it, then set it to standard. So if you have the video bitrate to high, that's going to take a bit more processing power on the camera than standard. So if you have a little bit of an experiment and see whether you even notice the difference between high and standard. But if you don't notice a difference, then go for standard. But if you particularly want the very highest quality, then leave it as at high. Let's just back out of the settings now, all the way to the main screen. Okay, so the last things we could look at is the resolution down the bottom and the frame rate. So if we swipe up from the bottom, this is where we set the resolution and the frame rate. So the 2.7K, although it's the highest resolution, is going to consume the most amount of battery power, as you can imagine, due to all the processing. So you need to ask yourself the question, do you want the highest quality, or do you want to conserve a little bit of battery power and maybe set it to one of the lower resolutions like 1440 or 1080p? If you're doing something like vlogging, for example, you probably don't need it necessarily. You need to set to 2.7K. Now, moving on to the frame rate. Again, the higher the frame rate, the more the processing power is needed to maintain that frame rate. So that, of course, takes battery power. So again, if you don't need it, perhaps you're doing vlogging, you can set it to perhaps 30 or 25 frames a second, and that's going to consume less battery power. The last thing to talk about is the stabilization over here. We have a few options. We have off, high, and max. Now, the more the stabilization, the more the actual camera has to work to maintain the stabilization. So if you can save yourself some battery power by changing it to one of the lower settings, perhaps standard, or if you've got the camera actually mounted on a tripod like I have here, or on some sort of mount, then you don't need stabilization anyway, because the camera is nice and steady. So switch that guy off to save even more battery power. Okay, so that's a whole load of settings that can be turned off to save battery juice and make it last a little bit longer. Some, like the Wi-Fi, the screen brightness, the auto power off, is going to save a lot of battery power, whereas others a little bit less so. So therefore, perhaps start with the big hitters first, and then turn other things off if you don't use a feature anyway. Okay, I hope this is useful to you guys. And now, if you have any questions or other tips, share them in the comments below. Other than that, I'm signing off for today, and I shall see you again on another video.